Welcome back, Bobby. As you know, collectability has always been, well, at least in my time, okay, a big part of comics. Okay, there's readers, there's collectors, and there's people who do both. But
Sure.
the idea that something that you're going to buy is going to become collectible later, is going to rise in value, is a big part of the fun of collecting comics.
Sure. Sure.
And right now in comics, well, back in the 90s, we had Wizard Magazine that came out once a month.
Yes.
And that would tell you who the hot books were, the hot creators to follow, and it created trends and it had an impact on sales.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in the digital age where Monday you get an app message from an app that says this book coming out in 2 days is going to be worth this because it's a key issue for some reason or other. And all of a sudden things are pre-selling on eBay for $25. Okay. And it's becoming kind of crazy because you have people who are like, oh, it's a key book, it's a first appearance or whatever, not knowing that some of these things aren't ever going to really last. Okay.
Right.
But there are true collector's items out there. I mean, the first issue of Walking Dead is and always will be a collector's item.
Mm-hmm.
When it first came out, nobody knew how popular it was going to be. Nobody knew how good it was going to be. It was a small press, black and white book about zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it'll work, maybe you won't. Okay. But that book has a genuinely low print run compared to the people who are interested in the book. Okay.
Right. Right.
Where do we find nowadays? Okay. And this affects not just people who want to collect comics, but people who are making comics,
Mm-hmm.
Where are you finding the lowest print books?
I would say probably crowdfunders. I think Kickstarters, Indiegogo, because what you have is you have an audience who is funding the full price of the book. So where a publisher normally makes maybe 30% of the, say, let's round this up to $9 for a book. And usually a publisher would get $3. Not $3. You got to do his printing, his artwork, any production is printing, blah, blah, blah. So now with crowdfunding, the publisher gets all $9. So he doesn't have to have such a large audience or print run to successfully publish a book and get it out.
To make it viable to not only pay for production costs, but to make a reasonable profit for a writer and artist.
Sure. For example, is like the Brian Pulido Kickstarter is going on right now. It's at $310,000 for Lady Death graphic novel. Yes. He's over 22,000, maybe 2,500 pledges. This is people supporting them. So that print run, maybe top out at 3,000 or so. I think he's got 10 more days on it. So that's really probably a low print run. And I'm sure he'll print more because of the massive amount of money he's making. But it's pretty low print run on the standard edition of that book. So they can actually end up making more money and offer up less copies of the book.
Well, because you consider that for a mass market book, it's going to comic book stores. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
10,000 is a very low print run. Okay. 5,000 is a very small print run. And this is a book that is like 2,500. Let's round it up to 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that 2,500 of those are going to hardcore fans who want to keep that book.
Right.
So they're unique, what I call end users. They want to own the book. They're not looking to sell it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So the good thing is that always makes a market for yourself, for the publisher on a Kickstarter, because next time he does a Kickstarter for the next chapter, he can include original printings of the last chapter, so that as a new fan coming on, he can buy the whole set. Well, a whole set of Lady Death right now, even on a Kickstarter, is like $220 because I think he's in his 12th chapter or something like that. So they've got so many of them out there. But you can also go to the store and buy them. So the accessibility, they're probably not going to go more than $25 because they're accessible. So it's not a high-end collectible yet. But who's to say when he does another cover for that edition, then that makes that original edition that he only 3,000 or 4,000 of, more valuable at that point. And like you said, most of those are in hands of diehard collectors who aren't going to let them go. And of course, that raises the price up. It's like any collectible. Demand and shortage raise the price.
Well, you always have your first wave of diehard collectors who are going to be there first day and make sure that they buy that to own that. But there's always new people coming on, okay? And to particular writers, artists, characters. And, is there a way for, if you're going to kickstart your own project, is there a way for you to account for this collectability and build that into, how you approach, what you're offering, okay? And to appeal to that collector crowd to say, look, this is so limited that it might well be worth you investing for an extra copy.
I don't know if you publish through Kickstarter as through the collectability concept. You're more looking to build that mega fan. You're trying to build that fan who is going to buy this one and the next one and the next one, because from that they will grow. I think the collectability just is going to come as part of it as it continues. And it's not, we're talking about Lady Death. Bill Tucci's got the She project going. He's got a book that's coming out. He's already working on the next one. He's raising over $100,000, I think, per Kickstarter. But there's a ton of other books out there, too, that you should look into. There's a book I just read. I was gone for a week. Ash White is the name of the book. And the creators, I can't remember the creator, Ash White. It's a Kickstarter. I bought the hardcover because actually 5 issues are out. It was a real short run. That book was awesome. It totally took so many turns and twists. I was like, wow. And I've had it for a while and just never ripped it open and read it. And I just took it with me on this trip as something just to shake out the cobwebs and try it. And I couldn't put it down. I had to read the whole graphic novel and get it done. These, I think, are going to be the ones that's going to sneak out there. And when he does the next one or the next one, and people are going to want that hardcover collection, or they're going to want those first 5 issues, and they're going to be harder to find out there. So, I think the Lady Deaths are always going to be available. Brian's smart. She's, Billy Tucci's smart with the She. Those books are going to be available, even in lower runs. But I think these short runs, there's another one I supported called Adept, and it looked like a really cool project. Haven't gotten it in yet. But, some of these you're talking, there's 300 to 400 or 500, pledgers. People are supporting these. So are these print runs really under 1,000? I mean,
yeah, sounds like it is.
About it. If, my recent Kickstarter, our goal was 3,000. We ended up raising 3,500. I only have 52 supporters. So what's my print run's going to look like on these books? We're going to do a certain print run, and we're going to go ahead and print up, because we believe, because we're brand new, we've got a long ways to go to build that following. And I want to give people first printing. So we're going to have them for a little while, but I will change the cover at some point in time, and there'll be a second printing of this book. So, but I can tell you it'll be under 1,000 copies of this original printing of Paradox Wars.
But so eventually you will change to a second printing. Okay.
Sure.
So you're not trying to artificially, make it a ridiculously low run just to bump up. Hey, now come by the second print.
No.
But it is, if you're looking to invest in some things, okay, there's mass market books that there's way more copies of. Okay, but how did Walking Dead become the international phenomenon? It got picked up for television.
Yes.
Okay. And people who are picking projects up for TV and movie deals, okay, and streaming services, they're not terribly thrilled that it says Image or Dark Horse or Marvel or DC. They want to buy the idea, the concept that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that the series Adept or Ash White are just as likely to be picked up for.
Oh, either one of those could be adapted easily. Well, I don't know about Adept yet. We'll see. But White Ash, yes, it could definitely be. Another one to watch out that was mainstream from Image would be Invincible. Aren't they getting ready to do the cartoon?
They're doing an animated series, yeah.
Yes, and I think that's going to bring new readers I mean, he ended up wrapping that series up, but yet I know the earlier couple issues are up in price a little bit, but I don't think they're nearly the value that they're going to end up being. I think that's going to be a real valuable book. But yeah, we were sort of talking about Kickstarters and how they are running a low print run successfully because they don't need. They're getting all the money. The publishers are getting all the monies basically. So I think it's worth investing if you're a collector to look at that. I know a lot of the publishers are using print on demand. So who says that there will ever be a second printing? I think a smart publisher will. He'll understand that he wants to take care of his initial pledgers, his initial supporters by giving them this value, this look. And then anybody who jumps on again will.
Well, it's something to look at when you are, doing your crowd-funded project. Mm-hmm. That if every one you ever sell is a first print, you kind of take away that collectible nature of it. And while it's but you're not rewarding people for buying and saying they're all first prints because there is no such thing as a first print. Okay.
No.
And again, like you say, you're getting a certain number of people backing your own project. You're going to print more of that in an initial print with that cover. Mm-hmm. But you're already thinking for the future of doing second print covers, which kind of helps to protect that your initial investors are getting a first printing. Right. That have the ability to go up in value.
What I personally is what our project is going to be a 12-issue story over the next 6 years, 2 issues a year. It's written in 4-issue story arcs. So of course, there's three chapters throughout the story arc. The way I see it is I want to keep number 1 printed with its original cover through issues 1 or chapters 1 through 4. When I launch chapter 5, I will be reprinting the cover of 1. So anybody who gets that initial chapter will have the first printings of all those covers. When we begin the second one, I don't know if I'll change all the covers or if I'll just change the first one. And then each additional chapter will be changed out at that point in time.
Well, this is the plan that your number 1 priority is to make the story available to readers.
Yes.
That someone comes on to chapter 11, they can still read the entire story. Okay? Yes. Without having to pay collector's prices for issues 1 through 10.
Exactly.
But
you also give the people who jumped in here at the beginning to support you something that they value because they now have the first printing copy of this.
Right. So you're actually serving both markets,
yes.
Both the pure reader market and the reader/collector market.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a good thing to communicate to your buyers, because I think there's a lot of people that may be on the fence, like, oh, maybe I will buy a second copy to put away as a collector's item. Okay. And that when you're dealing with print runs that are fairly small for crowd-funded things anyway,
yes,
that anything you can do to convince people to get, another copy is good.
Helps. Yes.
It helps. But this way you're also not penalizing people or making your story inaccessible. Okay.
Right.
But a lot of people think that graphic novels, should be in print forever. Oh, well, why should I not buy this $25 hardcover? I can get it forever. Then they find out, oh no, that price is now $100 on eBay because it can stay in print forever. Okay.
Another thing we haven't talked about is the limited edition covers. Ourselves, we did a 1 in 50 and a 1 in 25. So that cover, that image will only be printed on 50 copies of that book. It's still the same in the pages, same story, same pages, but the cover will only be 50 copies of that. And there's actually only 45 of those will be put on market. 5 of those we will retain for creators and publisher copies. So the 1 in 25, only 20 of those will be put on market. Of course, but they sell in the Kickstarter as a higher price. They're either $20 or I think they're 20 and 25 or 20 and 30, something like that. But I know Brian does a ton with Lady Death of color variant covers and different colored covers and limited edition stuff. And something he did as a collectible I thought was pretty cool. He beat me to it because we already had a note written down. He brought back the ash can. Do you remember the ash can?
Yes, I do. Okay.
This Kickstarter, he brought back Pogs, which we'd already re-released our Pogs in our Kickstarter. But he then is giving away ash can, doing these random draws of sponsors. And I was like, oh, we were going to offer an ash can with our next one. And we probably still will. I dug out a whole book of ash cans that I had collected over the years from Wildstorm Studios. And
yeah, if you're not familiar, they were a quick and easy and cheap way to print something and get it out
yes.
to people, especially for the convention market. Is like the first book is not going to be ready in time, but I can do a quick, easy print run of these ash cans. It's kind of a preview of what's coming up. Okay,
right.
They became quite a collector's item in their own right.
They did. They sent them out to publishers, or I sent them out to stores and stuff like that. And we had a store at the time. That's why we got a whole book of them. And that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, these collectibles are creating there in these Kickstarters are just, it's pretty cool. It's added a whole different feel on the comic market.
So to wrap this up quickly, then, if you're coming up with your own project and, you're going to put it through a crowdfund source, keep an eye on the collectible nature of it. Okay, let people know about the limitations that you have, but more importantly, keep in mind that long range, you want to get to your readers first.
Yes.
And don't try to sell, the Franklin Mint of one of a kind collectible edition. Okay, to the detriment of building your fan base first.
Right. Yes. And you want to always make sure your book's available. Whether it's the first printing, second printing, or the variant covers. And I guess another thing is people looking at is that, will you do this 1 in 20 or 1 in 50? Now you tell me the original printing is going to be limited. It is, but we just don't know what. We don't know what the set amount is on that first cover, and it's going to be a whole lot more than a 1 in 20 or a 1 in 50.
Under 50,000?
No. Do what?
Have we decided on under 50,000?
Yeah, probably just slightly under. Yes.
But at least we can start with there, and then we'll work. Maybe work it a little bit lower.
Work it up, yeah, or down. All right, Bill.
But also, if you are a comic book collector and you like the idea of having rare and potentially valuable books, okay, look at Kickstarter, look at other crowd funding sources, because there's some great projects out there that actually have some very, very small print runs.
And there's some great works out there right now that are coming out. I mean, just story-wise, art-wise, there's some really neat stuff that's coming out. I look on a weekly basis. It's almost like going to the comic shop now. I go to the comic shop, I pick up my Wednesday stuff, and usually towards the end of the week, I'll scan through Kickstarter to see what Kickstarter is pretty good about pushing certain things, but not always. You need to scan around and see what else is out there.
And doing that little bit of work up front, I mean, once the book is already a $25, $50 collector's item, it's too late to get in on the ground floor. But right. You're saying keep an eye for those quality projects.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that, if you're interested in the collectible nature, it's the quality projects that are going to rise to the top and become collectible.
Oh, yes, I agree. Yes.
Bob, thanks so much for your time today. Talk to you again soon.
All right, Bill. Take care.
Bye-bye.